Hindu mystics, when they speak of Satchit and Nanda, when they speak of bliss, that the very nature that we experience ourselves as is bliss. Can you glimpse bliss as this experience of the body, as this awareness, as spacious awareness is known in form, as emptiness becomes form? How do we know this? Can we glimpse bliss, or is it more presence, aliveness? What's your word for it? What is what is this? What is this? What are you in form? Let's pause, and I'd love to hear what this is, what you find. What's that like? What's that like for you? And Eric, what's that? How does this translate for your system? And don't be nice to
Um,
Sid. You can say, Sid, that none of that works at all. Like, what's this? What's it like for you?
well, right now, this moment, just checking in and being present with what is right now, um, there's this booming silence. There's a silence that is speaking, but it's silent and it's constant. It's unchanging, but it's constant. It's new. It's ever new. It's not stale. Um, and it's always there. It's never not been. Um, when I search through the memories, there's a memory always of it. It's not like it just arrived. It's always been there. Um, it's constant. It's constant. It's unchanging. Um, it's seen as well as heard. It's felt. There's no difference. There's no this or that. There's no separation. Um, there's a recognition with other people. Um, it's shared. It's not possessed. It's not found. It's not sought even. It's not indescribable. Um, that bliss becomes very, very still. Um, it's not the cause of. The bliss is like a symptom of. It's not the cause of. Um, it's really impossible to put into words and describe. Um, it's the sparkle that I see in your eyes right now. I can't see Tara because my screen only shows one at a time. But as soon as Tara showed up, it was the sparkle I saw in her eyes
Oh.
also.
Hey, can you click so you can see both of us? I don't want you to miss Tara for a moment of it. If you're on an
I
iPhone, can you like slide the screen to
oh
over?
oh thanks. Now I can.
Ah, hi Eric. Yeah.
Keep going, Eric. Keep going. We're loving this.
Um, I need to have a little sip. It's um it's unchanging. Um, there's no difference between being completely solidly asleep, like asleep with no dreams. There's no difference between that and walking around and interacting and talking. Um,
And what about, but then you mentioned the word bliss, right? The word bliss. There's a booming silence, and you said there's it's seen, it's heard, and it's felt, right? There's the booming silence, but then the feltness. That's what I'm trying. That's what I'm going to be approaching on Saturday is the feltness of it. Like, can you tell
mhm.
us more about the feltness? You use the word bliss, but you use it not as the cause, but as the symptom. But what's it like knowing the bliss of this?
Um, it seems like there's really only two feelings, or really only one feeling in a way, and there's a turning away from or a turning to that. Like there's a pulling back from or a turning to that. But that can be seen as two feelings, but there's really not even two feelings. There's just moving moving towards or moving away from in terms of the human body, the human situation, and then all the other emotions arise out of that, and then those emotions evolve into feelings. Um,
Wait. Let me ask
that
you this: the turning, just so that we can follow, the turning
yeah,
towards, like you said, turning towards the human body. So there is a sense of an experience of the presence of what we're calling the body and turning away from no body. Is it like that, body and no body?
no, only if thought about. I mean, as soon as there's just this primal feltness. I guess you could call it an emotion, but it's one. There really isn't even two of that. There's just this one, but there's a moving away from it. Like there's a pulling away or a pulling towards. There's an acceptance or a non-acceptance. Um, and that seems to just happen in the body. It's very body oriented. And then that then becomes becomes the primal emotion of love or fear.
Oh, so fear can come in your system. There can be the primal emotion of fear.
Yeah, absolutely. Because in this body, um, a lot can happen.
Mhm.
And the body reacts to things as they arise in situations. But it seems like there's really only this oneness, like that feltness that you know that
Mhm.
that we were talking about. The feltness doesn't even really divide. It's just this oneness of it. But then within the body can pull away from or move away from, and that starts this differentiation kind of.
Okay, then let me ask you a question. In the differentiation between the primal love and the primal fear, and the differentiation of the emotions in the body, is it ever other than the booming silence? Is it ever other than, how about this? The bliss. Is the bliss the bodily experience of the booming silence, or is it different? Is bliss just one of the flavors of the felt experience of this?
It, I don't have a very good ability to describe all of this, and I don't have a I guess the word is theology, not theology, but theology, I think is the word.
What does that
And
mean, Eric?
it's like a system of
Mhm.
like organizing things into a system of, and I'm not very good at that, but I really appreciate other people who are. There's many, many people who are very skilled and adept at that. Um, I've
I
partly
got.
resisted that,
Hmm.
partly because it happened so spontaneously and at such a young age that I didn't have any of that. It didn't go through any filter. And because of that, I I just feel really like honoring that sort of, I don't know the word to say,
Yes.
but the word
What
that comes,
is?
yeah, and the word that comes up is purity, but even that is like, spitting on the ground kind of.
I got a couple. Let me ask you a couple more things, and I'm curious what's bubbling for Tara with this as you're doing this great, crazy deep dive into this for us. But here's my question with this: the primal fear, and
Mhm.
so and then there are different emotions that come up, and some of them might be of that, of the fear, or however that shows up as contraction. Here's my question: if there's a sense of sinking into the fear, do you find what the fear is made of is the booming silence? What it's made of is the bliss itself, that the fear is not separate from the bliss. Is that a
Y-
true statement in your system?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There isn't really fear. Fear is like the beginning of separation. There's just this sort of oneness, and it's felt, and there's a turning towards or pulling away from that, and the pulling away, then fear starts to be felt. But even if in the body, even as a body sensation, if there's fear turning towards that, there isn't fear. It's just this oneness. There's a feltness. I mean, there's, whatever is happening. There's not a, um, okay, here's an example. So I had a mindfulness meetup with some people here. I'm back in Antarctica, and there was a mindfulness meetup. And so there were a bunch of wonderful people, some of whom I had met last year and some new people. And one of them who's a very deep sort of practicing Buddhist, um, but very, very gentle, beautiful person. And he and I talked a little bit afterwards because we've already talked, he already knows my depth. Um, and so I was there I sort of fell into his gaze for a while. We were just standing there and I was just, seeing that love pouring out of him. And so I was trying to describe that to him, that there's just this oneness.
Mhm.
And I know he sort of understands, right? I'm like, well, there's this one awareness and it's pouring through you and through me. There's no difference and everything is all just the same. And I'm just seeing that just coming out like a waterfall out from your eyes right now. And and of course he could feel that
Mhm.
just to some degree, but there was also just this tiny twinge of sadness. It's hard to describe, but it doesn't change it at all because you look at this world, which is a paradise. I
Yes.
mean, it's just perfect. It's just perfect.
Okay. So
Um,
this is part of where, because you can feel the gap between where Sid's speaking from and where you're speaking from, and there's this sense of part of what one thing I'm trying to help celebrate is just kind of what you said, the paradise. How do we see the beauty of what is and the perfection of the paradise here? And I want to get to Tara, then come back to you, because I'm curious what's bubbling in her. But let me just say where I'm trying to go with this is the sense of trying to help us find that if we just, what's so clear for you, if to use a finder's word, if we sink in to whatever contractions are here, whatever negative emotions, whatever we don't like, whatever reflections of fear come up, if we sink in, ultimately it will open up and reveal the radiance, the beauty, the bliss, which is the very essence of the fear itself. And what's really fun having a friend like Eric here is that that's so very real for your system. But let me come back and see how that plays for you, what I just said, Eric. But let me check in with Tara. Tara, what's how you doing? This is how you what's going on, Tara?
Yeah, yeah. No, nothing special. What I really something what happened to me was exactly what Eric was just pointing out just now, and it was that I was having a discussion with my spouse, and last weekend, and I asked him for something that I needed, and he didn't listen to me. And then I went to bed with feeling the anxiety in my body, but I didn't really identify with what was going on in my system. I just let it be the way it was, and I was like, I asked for something that didn't happen, and I didn't feel really angry or mad or whatever, but the usual reaction wasn't there anymore, but at the same time, it was. And but I didn't identify with it. And that was really ah, it kept me up half the night. I was thinking about, okay, so my body is feeling it, and I know it does something to my being, but it wasn't really bothering me. But it was, but it wasn't. And
Mhm. Mhm.
so and and that was the first moment when I understood everything what Eric just pointed out. I never had this before because I really get stuck in that thought, like, oh, I want him to do this, and that, blah, 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 and asshole, and blah, 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 and all those angry thoughts. But it didn't happen. Yeah, it did in
Mhm.
a way, but it wasn't really stuck. It wasn't really, uh,
How about
uh,
that?
yeah. So, but after that, uh, another discussion did happen, and I was getting stuck again in that thought and in that stickiness. And then I thought, like, okay, how can I manage to get it back the way it was? Because
Mhm.
I love to be there with whatever what is, and just yeah, just be with life. Just be with
And as it came back, Tara, for Eric, he has this word like it's all booming silence. Beneath it all is booming silence. Is this silence or this bliss or he said like love? And what's it for you? Like coming back to this okayness. Like what's the flavor of it for Tara? What was found when you were laying in bed? It's like, well, my husband said those things to me, but it's not catching. Nothing's catching. I'm just here I am. There's this okayness. What's your word? What are you resting as?
just total beingness, total acceptance, oneness, just not me doing anything or controlling, or it's not me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice. Being this oneness. Oh,
Yeah, and I was really grateful for having this to have had this experience, and yeah, it was something else.
awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and funny thing is, now we're here with Eric, and Eric is all about that. And last week we were, yeah, so last week we were together, and I couldn't really understand, and I was like, thinking about, oh, where do your choices come from? If you're totally okay with fear or anger or whatever is going on in your life, where do your choices come from in those moments? And is that different from having not the total okayness in the fear, like, but yeah, last weekend when I have had it myself, it's still the same in a way. So it's really weird.
When you had it for yourself, when you knew this, when
Yeah.
you knew like what Eric's pointing to, when there's this, we got to have a taste of it. When you get to be the expert, Tara, when it's not what when not what some spiritual guru spoke of or what someone in the Finders spoke of, it's like Tara, it becomes the authority of this oneness, this beingness, and knowing it yourself, knowing that okayness that's here. I just want to celebrate that, like your authority of this, what is known here, what comes. Just like Eric speaking of it, this is Tara speaking of how it's showing in her system. Maybe another time it'll be just like, I mean, I love what Eric's doing for us, the way he's speaking of this. And it's like that Tara can do the same thing, same authority. Hmm. Curious what comes up for Eric as we're all kind of playing here together. Anything else you'd like to share first, Tara?
No, that was what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Hmm. And just to notice that one last thing, because this is where I like the parts language of IFS, the sense of if there's like a spiritual achiever or pusher, and these come up so often in the finders community when we're all talking about locations and going someplace. If there's any voice that comes up inside, like, no, what Eric's speaking of, I need to go deeper, I need to go further, I need more of this. That would just be some spiritual achiever, and then we just notice it. It's just a part, and we notice what's aware of it. This place of this okayness, this place of an absence of lack, this imperturbable beingness, and perhaps even Eric's word, this booming silence. What's here when we're not blended with a part that wants more, wants something to be different. Like even when we have these beautiful experiences like you just had, Tara, I'll have those and I'll be like, oh my, I want more of this. I want more. I want it deeper. I want it like this. And that's just if we can just see that as a part. What you got, Eric?
Um, yeah, just a little bit swept away, Tara. That was so beautiful to hear. It was like I was actually almost moved to tears.
Oh, wow.
It was just really tender and sweet, but beyond that, like just yeah. Um, yeah, there are moist eyes right now. And that's the thing that's so amazing. It's this personalness of this, you know, just like you were saying, Sid, there's nothing that needs to be done, and there's no seeking, you know, you are that which you seek. There's nothing that needs to be done. I mean, I meet people every day and they're just this shining, beautiful, incredible expression of that, but they maybe have never heard of any of this stuff that we're talking about, but that doesn't change it. Um, there's a real beauty in the sharedness of it. And Sid, that's something I really appreciate that you're able to help people tap into that. And definitely there is a synergy, there is a drawing together. I mean, Christ used the word when two or more are gathered in my name, there I am also. But it really, it's like, what is that name? What does that mean? You know, that name is that name which can't be named. It's unnameable, the unnameable.
Mm.
Um, it gets weird, I will say. It gets weird because there is even a point where the I amness kind of falls away,
Mm.
or cycles might be a better way to look at it. And so it gets sort of strange.
Let me ask you, I have a question for you, Eric. I have a question kind of like a couple layers up from when the I amness starts to cycle away. It's like a couple layers up here when we're with the just the density of experience. Like, Tara's having she's with her husband and he says things and there's a kind of a response inside, or Sid feels stress about something I've got to write today. Um, or a sense of shame comes up. I did something wrong. I shouldn't have done it. I should do something differently. I'm wondering about at that layer, at that level, what the experiment is or exploring with people is just kind of what we did in kind of the guided exploration at the very beginning. The sense of if we can just feel into that, feel into whatever the response might be in Tara's system to the husband, or Sid's sense of shame, or Sid's sense of stress, if we can truly like just be with it. And often, just a little bit more often, it's about discerning the reactions to it, the resistance to it. I don't what we call parts. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to do this. Or my husband's wrong. Or God damn it, the world that's making me do all this stuff today. I don't want to do it. I just want to be here. Um, if we can discern from those reactions and we can just be with what's there, the sensations, the experience, what's arising inside, what I'm curious about is what it reveals, what it opens up to, what you find if you can kind of go up to that level of how it moves from a reaction, a stress, a no, a I don't like what my husband said, or the contraction, how that opens up to the place where terror went, but how we can do it almost like a sinking in. How like can you speak to that for us, Eric?
Um, yeah, I can try to. Um, Bit by bit, I'm learning how to talk of these things, but mostly through the words or systems of other people. It's still something that I'm not very able to speak of. And Sid, you're one of the few people that I've actually done this with quite sort of publicly and openly. Um, I don't generally do that. Um, although bizarrely in my day-to-day life, I'm a fairly talkative, like oversharing kind of person. That's how I tend to operate in groups of people. I sort of tend to be like that. But there's this sense of respect of other people's I-ness. And I've noticed that um, you can be in a place of completely not feeling any separation and just falling in love with this other human, um, or sharing that love is maybe a better way to say it, just this one loveness. Um, but but as soon as you start to speak about it a little bit, not for everybody, but for some people, it really shakes their foundation and it can create a lot of strong reactions in them, even in people I know quite well sometimes, or
Yes.
people I care about.
Let
Um,
me wait, let me say this because that is part of, and I love what you said, respect for others people's I-ness. I love that. And I just want to say that that's one of the reasons I'm inspired to be about the going in instead of like, I'm going to suggest that what we're doing is the same as what they're calling the direct path of going out. Like, who am I? What's really here that takes us into the emptiness, the spaciousness, the bliss of being out there. What I'm suggesting is that there's something that's more lovely, more humanness, keeps our humanness, is less threatening when we go in and we just feel into the contraction of what's here in our humanness. And that we let that reveal the same thing that's revealed out here, but it's revealed in here while we're still in form instead of emptiness. Back to you, Eric.
So yeah, speaking of that in a feltness, I experienced almost daily pain in my heart. Like it's actually just like a squeezing sensation. In fact, there's almost not a day that doesn't go by where I feel like the heart squeeze is so strong. This could be the day I just stop living. Um, it's hard to describe. It's part of this cycling. It's it's partly a feltness, like a feltness of all and a feltness of the separation and hurt. It's partly that, but it's also when I turn towards it, there's just this ease. Like when I go with the sensation, if I don't, if I'm like rest with it, and sometimes it can become quite strong and it's not really such a physical thing almost. It's more sort of, it's hard to describe, but it is felt. Um, but the hack is the breath. So just being present with that and just breathing. And then um, the okayness, more than okayness, like it's not just okayness, the perfectness. Um, I mean, the system has gotten so used to it, it's sort of hard to describe. I can remember the first time that it really settled in. I was 10 years old. I'll never forget it. I think I was 10. I was meditating with a group of adults, and I didn't usually get to do that. But this particular time, adults let me meditate with them. And so there was a group of us. And in that shared space of people all going deep in meditation, and some of these people were real adepts in that space, this joy and bliss just arrived.
And then what
Um,
happens when contraction turn goes up? If it's the version of it that's the heart, any contraction, and you turn towards it, and you turn towards the contraction, what happens? What's that like?
um, I mean, it's experienced in time. So the contraction is relative. It has a beginning and an end. Um, Although so far it hasn't ever killed me. Um, it's likely there will be a time where that might be one last experience in
Or
in this physical form.
but let's say
Um,
contraction, any but contraction, because you also have the loveliness of being married, and we know that on the relative level, the difficulties arise, like who's taking out the trash, and there can be contractions that arise in relationship. What about those, even at that level, those contractions that arise if they're turned towards? Is there a sense that this booming silence comes through, that bliss comes through? What's the relationship to the contractions that arise in regular life for Eric?
um, I'm incredibly grateful for the relationship I'm in. It's been 8 years, over 8 years. So it's been very, very significant. It's been one of the longer ones I've had. Um, but it has not been easy. It's not been an easy relationship, and it's continuing to be sort of difficult. But I'm so grateful because that intensity at times of has been like a catalyst.
So
Um,
what happens when the difficulties here? When you turn towards the difficulties and you really go in, the difficulties are really just sensations. They're sensations, right, that come with the difficulties. What's it like when those are being turned towards and there's an intimacy, perhaps even beyond intimacy, with the sensations of difficulty?
well, the thing that's funny about it is that, in the heat of whatever that situation might be, the 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 breath goes on and the seeing still happens. And um, and these little reminders just are constant. Um, it's hard to describe. I really can't describe it.
Mm.
Because there was a lot of times where vision would do all sorts of really sort of bizarre things. But now it's just usually there'll be just a tiny little sparkle will just sort of show up. It's just like a little sparkle. It's a tiny little rip in the fabric, but it happens as this, you know, intensity of interaction is going on in this
Yes.
superhuman way. Yet in the midst of that, there's this like shiningness, um, and beauty, um, kind of appreciation and beauty. Um, the thing that is weird about it is that um, there's these patterns that she and I have of triggering each other in various ways. Um, and for her, it just lasts so long, or it doesn't
Mhm.
even seem to sort of like it just carries on. Um, and so she interprets what's going on with me through the way that she
Yeah,
experiences and
but
look
then, but
and
but
looks.
for but for Eric, there'll be it's different. For Eric, you said there'll be difficulties, but in the midst of that, something will sparkle through, will shine through. There'll be a beauty, and that becomes so interesting, right? The human level of this and the interactions, and then at the same time, what they call the beauty, loving what is, or the perfection, or the shining, or the beauty that's here. Like I'm hearing a concurrence of those in your system, and sometimes I'm also hearing it gets a little, maybe a little caught in the difficulty, but then the sparkle will shine through. You give us a couple more thoughts on this, and I'm curious to see how this is playing for Tara because she's married as well, and this is all real or what's bubbling for her. And we all know relationships. I'm not in one right now, but I'm often in them, and I know that word difficulty very well. What else you got to add to that, Eric? That like how they both play it simultaneously.
Um, the thing that's amazing about it is that whatever is happening, whatever's going on, this constancy doesn't leave. Um, and it and even in the midst of the system having some contraction or reaction to various things that might be happening, um, the breath in and out,
Mhm.
each breath is just, oof, it's, I mean, every breath is like ecstatic, would almost be like, oh my God, it's hard to describe. Like each breath is like the last breath. There's no other breath. It's just this one breath. And um, it's actually like a fire burning up. It's like consumed. It's just impossible to describe. Um, but even just the feltness of that breathing just has this incredible. I mean, the bliss is it's just enough to handle. If there was any more, I think it would just like evaporate in a ball of something. Like, um, but that's present like Always, always. That's the thing that's so strange. Um, so yeah, in the midst of um, eh, for some reason, this quote comes up from Paramahansa Yogananda. It's one of the things that he said, you know, that when you anchor in that, you can stand unshaken amidst the crash of breaking worlds.
Mm. Let me check with Tara with this because this is very real what you're describing, and I'm like it's very tangible what you're describing in your relationship and in life in the moments, and I'm curious how Tara finds and Sid, how we find our version of what Eric's saying. Even the midst of on one level, there's the what was your difficulty, and at the same time, there's something else here. And Eric, you're describing it as this like this ecstatic breath that if God, if it was more, it would be too much. It would burn everything up. But this it's ecstatic. And Tara's used the word this forget what you would use the word when we were asking about the flavors of this. There was this okayness that was here. But Tara, how does that play in your system? The both, you know, you're still laying in bed. Your husband says those things, and then there's this absolute okayness in the midst of, gosh, why is he saying that? How's that playing? How's it play for you?
Well, what I wanted to share first is more about what Eric just shared in the beginning, like to have the respect to the person, the other person, you know, like who doesn't have had the
Mm,
experience of that total okayness or
yeah.
bliss in everything and oneness. And what came to me was what I had before. If people were sharing like thoughts about, oh, I really enjoyed, I felt a little bit depressed, but I enjoyed it and this and that. And I had some judgmental thoughts about it because when I was feeling depressed at that moment in time, I really wanted to die, you know, like really, really was like in a really bad place. It was, and to, for you to have said what you just said, um, made me feel like, yeah, you're talking from another place in which if anyone has difficulty in their life, which is really and are struggling without that feeling of oneness, without that feeling that I just had this weekend, if they ha don't have that experience just yet, it's impossible to know where you're talking from because it's not a place that they have been to or felt or so it's really difficult if you're there and you're talking to someone who is not there and I don't know, yeah, it makes me also wonder if your wife has experienced it, some kind of things like what you just described because when you're talking from different places it's really difficult to see each other in things. So that was the first thing which came to my mind, and the next
Let
thing
me just
was,
see if I got
oh,
that, Tara. The first thing is just
yeah,
this
yeah,
appreciation for how Eric said respecting the I-ness in the other, like really respecting wherever the other is, like in that way.
yeah. That is, yeah, that is really nice to hear, and really great that you felt that you could share those things. And last week you did it as well, and it was, yeah, perfect timing for me. I always say divine timing in these sort of things because it's, yeah, the synchronicity of my life with sharing in meetings is amazing. So I'm grateful for every sharing in this as well. And So yeah, your respectfully way of talking about that place and um yeah, is really really nice to have had and to be with. And yeah, it's amazing that I had it myself just this last weekend. It was the first time. It was really something else. It was really, and then I was thinking, is it always there with you, Eric? Is it like the is it always there in everything, in fear, in anxiety, in shame, in making a wrong decision in life? Is it always there? Always, always, all day, every day.
Yeah, yeah, it seems to be. I mean, that there's very, very brief moments where it seems like it's not there, but it's only because that moment is so like wrapped up in some, thing that's going on that um and it's so there are so many hacks. Like there are so many portals, like access points to that okayness. Um and so it's gotten much easier to just um not be separate from that. It is always there. It is. It doesn't ever leave. Um, Definitely breath is seems to be the easiest one because it takes no effort. Like nothing has to be done to breathe. There's not like just absolutely no effort. So really all it is just in that moment of whatever's going on, just being just a little bit aware of the breath and um and that feltness of that is just like, this delivery method of that indescribable stillness, that just is secretly infused through everything. Um,
And you have had this since you were young, you said before.
um, yeah, I mean, I didn't seek it. Like that, I've never called although a big, huge part of my life has been, I mean, I was in this mindfulness class meetup we had today. I was reflecting that, I've had maybe 52 plus years, 54 years of meditation. So, that's a significant amount of meditation. Um, but even before I ever was taught how to meditate or learned how to meditate, there was just this sense. I like my earliest memories are just of laughing and laughing and laughing, just seeing the world, being in the world, and just laughing. And I was laughing because I could see just this shining beauty of it all. And I realized that everybody else weren't, but it wasn't sad. Like I wasn't taking this as like, oh, this is sad. When I was just really young, I have memories going back to maybe when I was about 2. I can remember the age of 2 or 3, and just laughing and laughing because I realized everybody didn't see that. So it, as far as I can remember, it's sort of been there. But I don't think I'm different. I don't think I'm special or different or chosen or, any of these like things that people build whole structures around, because it's everything, everyone is that also. Um, it's just most most don't sort of somehow have some recognition of that or realize that, but the potential is there. And so it's mostly just I mean, I never use the word waking up. I mean, it's such a new agey kind of thing to say, but it's really what it is. It's kind of like just something, whatever it takes for each person. It's so interesting to hear everybody's different. What brought them to that? For me, it was a lot of pain and suffering. I think that's pretty common. Even through all of that, like, oh my God, being a teenager, what a horrendously difficult human experience to go through. Um, at age 10, there was a recognition that about age 10, I realized, oh, okay, so I've had this depth. There was enough understanding, like intellectual understanding, but I wasn't really fully formed as a person yet. But I realized, this would be a moment I could just go be a monk for the rest of my life. Like I'm pretty sexual. I haven't I haven't had these other experiences. And there was this sense of like I'm very pure. I could just sort of feel that. Like I'm very pure. I've not really harmed anybody or done anything in any way. I just had the sense that like, yeah, the so far the karma is just really clean, kind of. Um, but I didn't do that. There was a choice at that age. There was a choice. Um, and it was out of oh, I'm super grateful. It's out of experiencing the full human experience. Um, if I had done that and followed that path right away, I wouldn't have had all of those other sort of very human experiences. I don't think I would be relating to people quite the same way. Um, I've met a few monks who made that decision, Buddhist monks in Nepal who either made that choice themselves or were chosen at similar age or younger and became monks for their whole life and are very pure, beautiful humans, but they haven't had some of those experiences. Um, so I feel like it's a gift.
I love your word, your description of from childhood of seeing the shining beauty, the shining beauty of it all. Really love that. I love that better than I like that better than some of the spiritual language people use for it. It is the simplicity and the innocence of seeing the shining beauty of it all. How's that going for you, Tara? What Eric just said. You think?
Yeah, it also made me think about my journey and like being grateful for having have had all those steps and getting to know different modalities and people and connecting with different people for my own journey in the search of getting rid of the chronic fatigue, right? So, um, yeah, I've it started with the psychological stuff, and when the therapist couldn't help me anymore, I was like, okay, now I'm going to the alternative path, and the spiritual path really, really was beautiful from the beginning on, and connecting with beautiful people and sharing pain together and connecting through that pain and like yeah, I wouldn't have wanted to miss any of those connections, people meeting with those beautiful people and doing those amazing things, ayahuasca and mushrooms and Reiki and now with vortex healing and Sovic Rai Reiki and pranic healing and there's a whole list I've done of work I've done and IFS of course is really yeah and now on the vortex journey yeah.
Isn't that wonderful, just the way you're able to describe it, Tara? Because we could hear it from it if we were blended with another part apart, right? You'd be like, oh my God, then I suffered, then I grasped, then I had the vortex and I had the alternative healing, and people tried to help me, and I got glimpses of relief, but from parts, but then from self, from the beingness, from this just love of what is, like the way you were able to describe your journey. but really, like this, just the appreciation of it all, enjoying it all, and enjoying. I wouldn't want to. I would not have wanted to have missed that. It's like just like what Eric's saying, the shining, the shining beauty of it. It's like as we look back, it's like as we look back on our history, are we looking back through a lens that's a little distorted with as a part looking back, like it should have been, I wish it had been different, or are we able to see it as with Eric's words, this shining beauty, which is what I just heard and was so enjoying about you describing your journey. It was just this kind of love of it and seeing the beauty of the journey. And I really enjoyed that. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a richness that is in it, you know? It's and every time I'm sharing and in a meeting or whatever, I'm getting that feeling like, oh, I'm just so grateful for it, you know, like to have had those experiences in my own life, trauma in my youth, etc. You know, I can I can relate to that. I can see it. And now the shift that has come, you know, being aware of how it is to feel really depressed and not from a awake space or however you want to call it, you know, like and then I'm like, I still know the differences and I still know how it is from that point or from that point or looking
Yes.
from it from different perspective or
Wow.
focus point or whatever. Yeah.
I'm curious before we lose this, as you describe all of this, I'm curious what it's like from Eric's perspective as he hears like Tara's journey, the history, and the way you're able to see it, and perhaps even what that's like in Eric's system when he looks back on his journey, and just what comes as you hear Tara, Eric.
There was just a real appreciation, Tara, and I think the word that you said was gratitude. Um, that you had that perspective to have gratitude for all of that, even though in some of the moments of it, you don't see a way out. And I really resonate with that. Because despite having had all these experiences as a young person and then and holding on to it and then turning in towards meditation and really following that path very sort of faithfully, still all sorts of sufferings happened, like a lot. Um, and there is this gratitude. Like I wouldn't change any of that. I would not change a single thing.
And let me before I just want to pause on that line, Eric, which for you is very natural to say. There's such this gratitude in this as you think back on your timeline, your life, you wouldn't change a single thing. I think for many of us, that's not completely realized that we have parts that was like, damn it, if only I had done this differently, if only that had been differently. And the sense of because we're looking back from parts. And when we look back from this beingness, this shining beauty, I think it touches more of what you're describing. Wouldn't change a single thing.
Yeah, but um, this is also another secret weapon we have. It's a superpower, which is that, whatever you might believe, and there's 8 billion different beliefs about what this is, and none of that really matters. But as far as I can tell, in the experience of this life, there's absolutely no memory of self-creation. Um, and there was these glimpses and moments of just this absolute perfection and bliss and being with that and no different from. And so to put it in a human way, I find it really easy to cry to Divine Mother and to just be that child that just keeps on crying. I didn't choose this. You put me here, and I choose you. I didn't choose this. I choose you. And just doing that sort of
When
unceasingly.
the choosing you, is that like choosing the shining beauty, choosing the perfection, choosing the love of what this is, like that?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's putting it in sort of a human way, right? I mean, it's putting it in a me and you and but sometimes in our way of thinking, we need to do that. Um, I mean, I
Um,
went through a big phase of like no God, because just the emptiness and stillness had become so complete. There was nothing other than that. There was just that. It took me a really, really long time to even be able to sort of use the word God or speak in those ways. But now there's no problem at all because it's just, but I've actually gone deeper than that because I meet all these people, so many who have like a lot of faith, but they don't, sometimes it's like, well, let's talk about that. Who or what is this God that you speak of? I think it's actually really good to talk about. Um, and so I don't have any problem doing that now. And a while ago, I would have not wanted to bring that up with various people. Because it is a little bit shaking. It does shake people's foundation a little bit when you start to talk about that, um, in a whole variety of ways. Um, because it really it hits at the root of what is this person's relationship
yes.
with with all.
The can't it, isn't it? But whatever the relationship is, I think for my system, whatever the relationship, whatever the belief system is, it's like, when if they touch love or being loved or connectedness, I mean, it's all so beautiful. And so I just adore whatever system they have that makes sense of it for them. And however this this beauty that they are is showing up, even if it's showing up as, like Tara was saying, depression or contraction or resistance or an us versus them. I mean, ultimately, just like as you're saying in your system, you keep going and you find it is that booming silence. It is this beauty. It is this shiningness. It's like to be able to, I love seeing it in everyone including fully including and celebrating however they're making sense of the universe, because it's, listen to Joseph Campbell, right? There's 1,000 different stories.
Hmm. Yeah, but it seems like everybody you meet, you can tap into that with them. Yet most people left to their own way of being, are living in this place of isolation and disconnection. Um, and then trying to solve that, and then we see just the insanity, the craziness happening. These wars and the great steal that's happening right now. We're having this huge stealing of money that's going on in our country, um, which is just it's just sort of slightly mind-boggling. But it's like, but there's compassion. There's like it's these
Gosh.
people are doing it because they're trying to They're trying to fill themselves.
Yes. So what's it like playing on those two levels, just like we're doing, just like in relationship, the difficulty, and then there's the innocence, beauty, and perfection that can be seen, the shining beauty. It's like if it's what's happening in politics with people trying to find completion or okayness or comfort through wealth and power, however it's playing, right? Or however it plays in a relationship, same thing. It's like, and then there's the being concurrently being able to see the innocence, which doesn't mean we don't say no, or I don't like the way politics are happening. I want it to be different. It doesn't mean that innocently we don't participate in all of that. But at the same time, we can see on one level there is no problem. And on another level, oh, I'd really like my relationship to be different. I'd really like politics to be different. How about them apples, Eric? Dan Tara.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there. I mean, thank goodness this is one thing I'm so grateful for my spouse Renee because she has this analytic way of interacting with the world. She constantly is bringing new information to me in a sort of a somewhat sciencey kind of way. And I'm just super grateful because, gosh, I don't have the sort of motivation. I can just rest. In, I can coast along quite easily. Um, and and she's constantly challenging me, like, read read this book by the Gottmans, and look at this way of looking at do this course. And I'm super grateful. I'm super grateful
Yeah.
for that because it's incredibly important and useful. Um, and yeah, I'm just, it blows me away. Like,
So both important in the relative, important, understand the world, understand different perspectives, see these things. And then on another level, it's all the same, right? It's all the same, just another expression of this sparkling beauty, shining beauty.
I think
Uh,
Eric is frozen.
oh, is Eric frozen? Oh no.
Yes. Yeah, Eric is
Uh,
frozen. Oh, and
oh
now gone.
no. Hopefully you come back. I didn't even
I
catch
hope
that,
too.
Tara.
Yeah.
Gosh, let's see what happens.
Mm.
I'm just loving this, Tara. I'm loving our exploration.
Yeah, and did you ask Eric to be here with us last week, or did
I
he just came?
know he just came and he knows
Oh
he
my
used to
God.
come. He used to come some and he knows how much I
Ah,
enjoy his presence. And
yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah.
like yeah, hopefully he'll come back again. I love it when he's here.
Yeah, yeah, but it's also for you. It's divine timing, right? Because you have your meeting this Saturday, and he is
Exactly.
like teaching you from his place how he. It's really
Exactly.
helpful. I really am grateful that we are having this opportunity and for you to have this before you do your
You
presentation.
get
Yeah.
how useful it is, right, with our community. How do we speak so that it doesn't just sound like complete silliness to people like Eric? And I don't know if I can even do that.
Yeah, that you can have your way of synchronicity in the way the work you do is helping them as well to look from their place
Or
or
yeah,
just to yeah.
maybe not. Maybe it's just it helps, just like what you were saying, that wonderful line of Eric's, like what respecting or appreciating the I-ness in others. And maybe it's just for some of our friends, it's just compassion for where so many of us are, where so many of us haven't found the ever-present ecstaticness of this beingness, the perfection that's ever present here. And maybe it's just that. And maybe we get to just enjoy them, like the gift of Eric. I mean, it's such a gift hearing his perspective on things as we share. And maybe that's what those folks are. And that Sid just becomes another expression of someone who's who's trying to get to know the radiance through it all and to incur and to celebrate, just like Eric was saying, where he just sees the shining beauty and all, just trying to celebrate that with friends and deepen into it myself and deepen into it with community.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Um,
totally.
hmm. Because I think there's also a just a real compassion for where where it is, how what can be seen and what can't be seen. This the what arise, the contractions that continue to arise. And also there's a carefulness for I just love the fullness of our human experience. I love the fullness of this embodied experience. And there's a little bit of a carefulness not to go too far into other spaces that some of our friends speak of and from. And so there's a like baby steps here in the enjoyment of this of what we're doing.
Yeah, I totally understand what you were saying. I'm having the same, and it makes you appreciate other things more when you have these these different qualities of the human being, like to not have been there in that fundamental well-being my whole life makes me have more compassion towards others and being grateful for everything that I'm in now, etc. And just to share to reflect on what just Eric also shared. At one point, I stopped watching television. I stopped watching the news. I stopped listening to whatever was coming through media. Like, no, I'm creating my own world. I'm creating my own. I know there are horrible things in the world, but it made me feel terrible. I was really was getting stuck in those sharing and when Russia happened with uh, the horrible things.
Ukraine.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
that one. And then I was like, oh, I shouldn't be hearing this because I really could feel the strong, yeah, feeling of if you are there, if you are in the middle of that, and those children, they abducted, this whole big group of children, and those rapes and whatever they then I was like, yes, uh, I cannot handle it, I
Mhm.
don't want to hear about it anymore. So I created my own world. I created my own people that I love to be with, share with, and talk to. And then I know shit is still going on, but I'm focusing on creating my own lovely world and paradise. And yeah, paradise is almost happening now.
Isn't that awesome, right? Like we call these like protectors that are like, I do not need to watch the news about some of these horrific things that are occurring because I can sense what it does to me and how I get caught in it and what occurs. And so we do our protectiveness. And some of us, there are even people that cut them that kind of like don't deal, do that with a lot of the world, like whatever's needed to find this that the different people do. And then in time, it can open back up, right? In time, we move more towards where Eric's speaking from, where he sees the shining beauty in everything, even though we might want to do everything in our possibility, everything to end these horrific things and to try to change that. We might give all of our money, we might go volunteer and do this full time or take this on as a job. But at the same time, we can, but we only do that when we can, we don't want to harm ourselves, right? We're going to protect. I love how your system protects itself, but then at the same time, it can open more and we can see the innocence in it all, just the possibility of that. And I watch how people manage that within themselves. How was that?
Yeah, and in a way, while we are sharing all of this, and like what Eric shared about the I believe it's in a way it's divinity that is shining through, that fundamental well-being, that stillness, that space of what is has created us and connecting us, and is the glue of it all, or whatever you can call it. And then I'm like, yeah, feeling the difficulty of, yeah, the war in Ukraine and Russia, like what happened there, the Gaza, all the stuff that's going on. And then I'm like, everybody should have access to it, like for some to have that blissful awareness. It's great, but why can we not all have access to it,
Mm, mm,
Like more of that in the midst of war, like
yeah.
whatever Eric has shared. Why can we not all have that? Yeah, it would be beautiful if we just
Mm.
all could awaken in divinity and
Well,
yeah,
like it's really like it's inspiring for me to get to, when we get to hang out with Eric, right? And because I think that's probably what he sees, Tara. Like when he speaks of looking at us and seeing our sparkliness, right? The sparkliness in our eyes. I think there's a sense of, even if we're saying, darn this, that should change, I don't like this, that he is seeing just the sparkliness and okayness, what you saw the other night, that he's just seeing that. And one of the reasons I like kind of the model of this IFS thing is that we do have this idea that what you're describing is our intrinsic nature. It is the sky. It is what's always there, that sparkly, the beauty, the bliss, the radiance of this humanness of everything, and that it just gets obscured. It just gets obscured by the clouds. It gets blocked by some of these thoughts and some of the difficulties we've gone through, that the contractions that arise, and just gets blocked. But it is the intrinsic nature. It is what's here in all of us. And I love that. And I think that's what this experience is here. That is very real. And I don't see the world anywhere near where Eric sees it, but I love the gradual opening to see more and more, and then the celebration, just like what we're doing and all of this. It's like to celebrate open, and what I'm going to try to do Saturday with the big group. It's like, okay, can we? What's it like to find this bliss that's here?
yeah.
It's a good game.